Today we're going to go over the quadratic formula. So this is the third method that we are learning on how to solve our quadratic equations. So the first thing I want us to remember is what standard form is. So standard form is our ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. When we are using quadratic form, we use this formula here. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all divided by 2a. The key to using this correctly is making sure that we put the correct number in place for each variable. So let's look at our example 1 using factoring, which we did last week. The first thing we want to do is find our factors of 5, which we can add to equal our center number, b, which is a positive 6. So just go over to this empty space here and let's find the factors of 5. And we'll see that the only factor is 1 times 5. So a positive 1 plus a positive 5 equals 6. That's all we need to put it in factored form. X plus 1, x plus 5. From there, to find our solutions, all we have to do is flip the signs of f1 and f2. So we have the solution of negative 1 and negative 5. I love this method. It's pretty easy, but we will find that sometimes we're not able to use it. So let's use the same example and see how that works with the quadratic formula. First thing I want to do is identify what are the numbers for A, B, and C. A is always in front of the entire equation. This time it's 1. B is 6. And C is always the number that is all by itself, the plain number. We call it the constant. 5. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the B, A, C, and plug in the correct number. So I see that my first one is B, so I'm going to put a 6. B, and then A, and then C. On the bottom, we have 2 times A. From here, we can only put some of this into our calculator. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my calculator to input this entire radical. So you're going to hit second square root and enter this exactly as you see it. Parenthesis 6 squared minus 4, parenthesis 1, parenthesis 5, and hit enter. When I put that into the calculator, I get 4. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to bring down my negative 6. And 2 times 1 is 2. Remember, when I get a square root, it could be positive 4 times positive 4, or negative 4 times negative 4. That's where we get our plus or minus. From here, I'm going to split it into two equations. One where I pretend that it's the positive 4, the other where it's the negative 4. So my top one, I'm going to use plus 4. My second one, minus 4. Now we can enter in each of those fractions to the calculator. Second, y equals fraction negative 6 plus 4 over 2. And we get negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. Then I enter the second one, negative 6 minus 4 over 2. I get negative 10 over 2, which is negative 5. So we still get the same answers as we did using factoring, but with a different method. So how do our solutions compare? They're the same. So go ahead and turn to page 15, or from 15 to 16. Example 2 shows us why on earth would we want to learn and use a totally new method when factoring works? Because for an equation such as this, 3x squared plus 4x minus 2, we cannot factor. We have to use the quadratic form. Why? Because it doesn't factor evenly. What does that mean that it doesn't factor evenly? That means that we're going to end up with decimals. So let's use the quadratic formula. First, look at your problem and ask yourself, which is A, B, and C? It's always in alphabetical order. A, B, C. And don't forget your signs. So we have a positive 3, a positive 4, and a negative 2. You see in my formula, again, the only thing that disappeared were my letters A, B, and C. My signs are still there, my radical. So let's fill those in. B, B, A, C, A. B, B, A, C, A. Now use your calculator only for the radical. Go ahead and enter that. So this answer is going to go right after the plus or minus. So x equals negative 4 plus or minus 6.324 over 2 plus 3, 6. Now we have to use our two separate equations, right? Because it could be a plus 6.324 or a minus 6.324.